Hey, what's going on, DDO players? Axel here. So in this video, we're going to go over some of the Lamania Update 45 balance changes. So these are just other general balance changes. So they've kind of broken up the balance changes into different sections on the forums. There's the range combat changes, which I just went through in my last video. There are the Knights of the Chalice for Paladin changes. And then there's this thread, which is kind of just a general list of kind of a lot of just kind of random changes for various races and classes. So let's go ahead and go through these. Some of the biggest changes off the bat: Azamar Healing Hands is now capped at 20 character levels. So before that was, it could go up to 30. So basically what it means is that the Healing Hands is going to be worse above level 20. So you're going to have to compensate for that by getting more wisdom or in some other way, but that enhancement is going to be worse. I mean, Azamar tree, I'm not surprised to see them hitting it. It's probably the best tree in the game right now, I would say. I think it's the best racial tree in the game. And it's something that, not surprised to be hit. Okay, Scion of the Ethereal Plane now adds 1.5 sneak attack damage per rank of hide you have instead of 1 for every 3 points of your hide score. Okay, this one's a little more mixed. I think from what I've read on this one, some stealth builds like rogue builds and things will be nerfed by this, and some might be buffed. So it's going to just depend on your build and how much you have, how many points you have into hide versus not. But it could be a nerf or a buff depending on the character. Okay, next, Dragon Breath in Draconic Incarnation now has a 60-second cooldown, and Draconic Fury in Draconic Incarnation now has a 90-second cooldown. So those are two nerfs. They made those cooldowns longer, so those are now worse. Okay, Sunder. Here's now on to Sunder. Sunder, they made some massive improvements to. Okay, Sunder is now a tactical melee attack. Using this attack, you may reduce the target's armor class by 10% and fortification by 25% for 6 seconds. So that's a lot better than what it was. So the fortification debuff is a lot better. I don't think that was even there at all before. I think it was just AC before that. But in any case, regular Sunder is reducing 25% for 6 seconds, and improved Sunder now reduces by 25% for 12 seconds. So that's cool. I mean, Sunder is something that I used to use back like long time ago, like when 20 was cap, because improved Sunder was actually, kind of useful, but it's gotten worse and worse over time, and I don't really know anyone who really uses it. I mean, you all let me know if you have been, but I don't really know many melees that have been using improved Sunder. So it's cool that they buff that to kind of get it with the times and make it useful again. Okay, so here are two buffs to Falconry. Falconry's diving attack cooldown has been reduced to 12 seconds from 20 seconds. Coordinated strike has been reduced to 25 seconds from 60 seconds. So I use Falconry, so I'm happy about that, obviously. I'm surprised. I mean, Falconry doesn't seem like a tree that needs a buff. Like believe me, I'm very happy, and I always felt, especially coordinated strike being a minute was too long. I'm really happy that they reduced the diving attack down to 12. That's not a. I thought that was that was definitely the least useful of the Falconry attack, which is might be why they're reducing it. But yeah, I'm very happy about that, obviously. So that's awesome. Awesome for me. All right. Now moving on to tank builds. So they made a bunch of changes to Stalwart Defender and Sacred Defender. And again, they also made changes to Knights of the Chalice for Paladins, but I'm not going to go through that in this video. Okay. So Coco Majobo said, as part of U45, we're reshuffling where percentage HP can be found, as well as clearing up and polishing the tier 5s and late cores of Stalwart and Sacred Defender. We hope these changes open up a lot of new tank builds and ease some of the pressure to multi-class for dedicated tank players. So they made a lot of changes here. So I don't know if I want to go through all of these. Let's see. Yeah, a lot of the cores here were affected, so Stand Fast, I guess I'll go through them. So Stand Fast, Core 12, instead of an action boost that ends Fear and Knockdown, this is now Fear and Knockdown immunity passively, so that's good. Defensive Sweep, no longer inactive, now passively adds 15% exceptional bonus to Armor Class, Threat, and PRR, so that's awesome for Stalwart Defenders. So against all odds, plus AC, taking damage now adds a stacking +2 AC, stacks 10 times. I believe that is new. Correct me if I'm wrong. Okay, Reprisal they're removing and replacing with the Thick of Battle. Striking enemies adds +10% melee threat. Max 10 stacks, 10-second timer. All stacks fade when timer runs out. So I don't think Reprisal was that great before, but this is definitely an improvement to that. So yeah, if you use a tank build, then you should be pretty happy, I think. Now, there are some mixed. I think people are saying some of this is, when we get to the percentage HP below, I think some people are saying some of this might be nerfy, depending, because they're adding types to different HP bonuses that were stacking before. But anyways, Sacred Defender, Glorious Stand, no longer inactive. Now passively adds +10% Sacred bonus to max HP, +25% Healing Amp, +2 lay on hands charges. So that's great. Eternal Defender, this is a big buff, 250 unconscious range now instead of 40 as it was before, so that's great. Faith Shield, +10% armor class, and you're considered shielded versus magic missiles and have +12 spell resistance. Reprisal, also replaced with something. This time it's Divine Revelation. Improves your aura of courage, so that's your stance. +4 additional spell resistance, +5 additional AC, +2 additional saves. I think those are all in addition to what they were before. So you personally also gain 100 HP. So those look like clear wins for tank builds to me. Again, I'm not the most, like, Sacred Defender I've used quite a bit in the past. Stalwart Defender I'm not as knowledgeable on, so let me know if I'm wrong, you guys. Let me know below in the comments. But I believe those appear to be solid wins for those for tank players. Okay, some of these, okay, they're percentage HPs. So a lot of the percentage HPs that were stacking or were given types. So as a result of these changes, some things won't stack with gear, or some things maybe didn't change at all, and they even have one new HP buff that they added in here. But anyways, Stalwart and Sacred Defender remain at 20% competence. Players always continue to complain about that because it doesn't stack with Epic Defensive Fighting, which is a 25% competence bonus to HP. But the thing is, players, there's been an argument, especially in this thread, and I think it's been kind of ongoing between players and developers. The developers' whole spiel is they think that's fine. Their opinion is it's fine because, yes, it does not stack with Epic Defensive Fighting. So if you use Epic Defensive Fighting, you're not going to get any HP bonus from the Stalwart and Sacred Defender. But at the same time, Epic Defensive Fighting drastically reduces your casting range in other things like range power. So there's bonuses to not getting your HP bonus through Epic Defensive Fighting. But I think I tend to agree with the players here, because there's a lot of players that pointed out that unless you're playing like a hybrid build, honestly, like my build, like a melee cleric or something, a lot of melee builds are just gonna be able to turn the thing on, like Epic Defensive Fighting, and not like the negative aspects really don't affect them much at all, because they're melee characters. They're not using range. They don't have great, say, like healing abilities to heal other party members generally. So a lot of the player argument is that they want this to be changed because it feels like it's a waste. And I have to say, I stopped splashing Sacred Defender when this change was made, just because you can get that now with Epic Defensive Fighting. Even running a hybrid build, I don't feel it's really worth it to splash. Now, I know there's certainly other players that disagree with me that I've talked to, for sure. Like personally me, even though I don't use it, even though I run a melee cleric, but what I do is I just swap it on, swap it off as needed. So if I need to heal a lot, I'll swap it off. If I'm in a group where people don't really need a lot of healing and I can just heal them plenty through aura and burst, then I leave it on. So even I don't use it. And I'm like the kind of build that you would think would want to go for the splash. But so for sure, if I'm not using it, true melee characters like fighters aren't gonna use it, because they don't have really any reason. I mean, they could put in things like Cocoon and stuff and heal their party members, twist and things like that. But generally, I think a lot of melee players really have a good argument here that, yeah, there are negative aspects to using Epic Defensive Fighting, but those negative aspects aren't applicable to a lot of builds playstyles. Anyways, let's continue. Unyielding Sentinel remains at 20%. Insightful. Azamar stays as sacred. It goes down to 5% from 10%, so that's a nerf. Asmar being nerfed again. Healing Hands was nerfed, and now they're nerfing the HP bonus again. Asmar I think is the best tree in the game, so I don't think some nerfs are unwarranted. Blade Forge gains 5% quality and a new tier 4 in the racial tree, so buff for Blade Forge. Paladin 10th core gains 10% sacred HP, which was also above, which, yeah, up here I already talked about that. Enlightened Spirit Warlock, level 20 capstone stays at 20% sacred, so that's just being applied a type. Cult Mastermind tier 5 Bond of Destruction gains 10% quality, so these sacred and quality aren't going to stack. So a lot of these that weren't typed before aren't going to stack with gear now. So this is probably a nerf if some of these types apply to your character and they weren't typed before, and they are typed now. So if you aren't aware, the way that HP stacking works is that if you have a certain type, like quality, sacred, competence, it will stack with everything except bonuses of the same type. So if you're getting a quality bonus from gear and also getting a quality bonus from your enhancement tree, then they're not going to stack because they're both quality bonuses. So that's how that works if you're not aware. Okay, let's move on. Let's see. Cult Slayer for Barbarian, tier 5, Bond of Destruction, gains 10% quality. Let's see. Renegade Master Maker goes to 10% quality, down from 20% racial. Not sure why they're doing that. Seems like a pretty big nerf. So 20% racial, I'm assuming. I'm not the most knowledgeable on artificers, but that seems like a 10% nerf if I'm reading that correctly. Upgraded Zombie in tier 5 Pillmaster goes to 10% profane. Shintao gains 10% quality, up from 3% untyped. So that might be good depending on if you already have a quality bonus or not on your gear. Could be good or bad for your monk there. Falconry tier 3 goes to 5% quality. Already 5% just adds a channel. So Falconry before stacked with everything, and now it's not going to stack with quality. So that's going to be a nerf for me, for my character, because I'll already be getting quality elsewhere. I believe I have it in my gear. Dwarf goes from 4% stacking to 5% quality, so that could be a nerf for Dwarf. Let's see. War Priest Core 5 gets 10% quality, so there's a buff for War Priest. War Priest didn't have any 10%, any HP bonus before in their Core 4, so now they get extra 10% quality bonus, so that's good. I mean, it still doesn't, fix the glaring issues with the War Priest tree, but cool. War Priest definitely needs a buff. Okay, so let's see. So that's going to be it for HP. Let's move to stealth and sneaking. So they made some stealth changes. Let's see. They said our changes focus on 2 major areas: all-seeing, tremor, sense visibility, and range, and movement speed while sneaking. So stealth movement speed, all sneak speed enhancements are now on the enhancement channel, therefore will not stack. We also fixed the interrequisite flags on these abilities to more reliably prevent players from taking more than one. Okay. Shadow Training 2 in Shadow Dancer now gives a 100% enhancement bonus to stealth movement speed instead of setting you to the normal base movement, so that seems like a buff. Okay, stealth mechanics. This is kind of interesting. Monster sight detection of stealth players have been decreased by 28%, so that's a buff for stealth. Was 25 meters, now 18. So it's going to be harder for monsters to see you while stealth. So that's cool. Okay, when the player is stealth, they now see a visual purple eye. I think that means virtual effect over any monster that pierces stealth. So you can, if you're playing a stealth character, it's going to be easier to see which monster can see through your stealth and see you. Okay, hearing range on all hearing monsters has been reduced by 10%. So that means monsters can hear players worse. So monsters become a little bit more hard of hearing. So that's going to be good for your stealth. So yeah, I mean, I don't think huge changes here. It's just slight buffs for stealth, I guess, and a little bit of changes on how it's going to work in the game. Okay, melee charge attacks. So this is really interesting too. Okay, as part of the passive balance changes for Hardcore Season 2, we're giving melee builds the ability to quickly close the gap with enemies. We're doing this in the form of opening up the availability of charge attacks that allow melee characters to quickly get into melee range with enemies, and improving the reliability and feel of charge attacks across the board. So the big change here is going to be through the feat Spring Attack, which has been, as far as I'm aware, pretty much useless. I've never used it. they're now complaining. They're now changing the feat to be an active charge attack that causes the character to leap forward, striking a target enemy and all those around them. Requires a visible target and that you're holding a melee weapon. So this is cool, and this is, it seems like it's addressing the issue in the game of where there's a big gap between like ranged and melee. You know, right now in the game, melee scene is inferior, and it is inferior when you get to especially like the high Reaper stuff. Now, I'm not that experienced in playing that content, so if you disagree, let me know. But the consensus on players is that melee is behind in the higher Reaper stuff. So what they're trying to address here is make it so that players can, and not really in Reaper, I guess it's not really that relevant, but really the problem that ranged players can kind of kill all the monsters before the melee characters can get to it, or that ranged by default, just by the way the game works, gets so much more DPS inherently in that way, just because ranged characters can attack from a distance, and melee players can't do any damage unless they're right up close. So the I guess when you close the gap as a melee character, that's a lot of DPS loss because you're running up to the enemy while the ranged characters are running towards them or away from them and still doing damage. So they're trying to address that, and that melee characters can kind of compete with range a little bit better, you know, getting into to the monsters faster. So that's good. Be interesting to see how that works. If you kind of just, I wonder how long the range is, and I wonder if it works like if it's a, I'm assuming it's going to work like dire charge, something like that. I wonder how fast the leap is. It'll be interesting. I'll have to play around with that one. So next, as part of the Knights of the Chalice revamp, that enhancement tree now has an active charge attack ability in tier 3 called Lead the Charge. Okay, all targeted charge abilities, the fast movement attacks that require you to target a specific enemy to use, will now get you to the enemy faster. So I assume that means things like dire charge or fast, or you're going to just travel faster now. And they've made other changes, they've said here, to the animation. So the charge abilities are going to turn more gracefully. So I guess that means they'll work better around corners. The animation has been changed, they said, and been smoothed out. And it says the targeted charge abilities will now more easily handle changes in elevation. So I'm assuming that means you won't get stuck if you're trying to attack an enemy that's like up a hill or something. So that's neat. So I think that's all of the changes, guys. So a ton of changes. I mean, if there's something that, you know, I think I got through all of them here. Guys, let me know what you think about these. So you've got the spring attack, melee charge attack changes. We've got stealth changes. We've got tank builds and HP stacking changes. And we've got other general changes of things like Azamar. So guys, let me know what you think about these changes. Just a ton of stuff. You know, this is I think this is an update where everyone's build is going to, it seems like almost everyone's build is going to be affected in some way. So definitely this is one where you want to, you know, check back with the release notes whenever the update 45 comes out to see if these changes are final. Like I said before, most of these are probably going to go into the game. I mean, normally, as I keep saying, they don't change a whole lot once stuff hits Lamania. Might be some tweaks, but definitely check back when the update 45 release notes come out to see which ones make it and which ones don't. Probably most of them. But guys, that's going to be it for this video. Let me know what you think about any of these changes. If I missed something or if I've gotten something wrong, please correct me below in the comments. I try to get everything right, but there's a lot of information to go through here. So hopefully I didn't miss anything. But guys, let me know what you think about the changes. That's going to be it for this video. I'll see you next time. Have a good one and take care.